Good, thank you. How are you?
I'm great, thanks. It's good to speak to you again. Just 6 months, well, I was a year ago, but 6 months after you getting your number one. So, I mean, congratulations on the album getting number one, all of that. I mean, you must still be over the moon, even still 6 months later, no?
Well, it's all a little bit strange to be honest, because yes, it's 6 months old, but because we've got something new coming out, it's almost like we've shelved that and moved on. I
Right.
mean, a lot of bands would dine out on a number one album for a couple of years and hammer the point home, but it's really bizarre. It almost feels like it's like a child we've abandoned and locked in the wardrobe. So we need to get it back out of the wardrobe and start hammering the point again. But we have this new album coming, so we can't do that anytime soon. I am liking your strategically placed Shed 7 CD there. That's very cool.
This was my very first Shed 7 purchase way back in '94. Yeah, I spotted a listening post in HMV and just
Right.
went and gave it a listen and took it straight to the counter. There was no
Brilliant.
messing
Well,
around
thank
with that,
you.
yeah.
Well, thank you very much. I do remember when that came out in the days of fly posting. That image was everywhere. Wherever I went, I saw my half naked body.
Yeah, I was
And
going to say
now,
because sorry to interrupt you, but I'm going to say, I mean, a lot of people that when they release something, they've got like artwork, but like the first real single that really kind of hits home was this one with you smoking a fag and
yeah.
half naked. So it
Well,
must have been kind of weird to see that poster everywhere, no?
Well, like most things, it was a happy accident. So basically, we were doing a photo shoot to try and get some good press shots with the whole band. And I think we were tired. I think we'd been up late the night before. We were in this proper photograph studio, and it just wasn't working. We weren't coming up with any good shots. So the photographer, just in a down moment, just said, Rick, take your top off, light up a cigarette, and just muck about, which is what I did. And that came from that. So it worked really well.
Talking of taking your top off, let me see if I can do this properly. I've not done it before, but I've got a few images that I wanted to show you just to see if you remember them and what memories they bring back, seeing as it's 30th anniversary. So top
I
off one.
don't remember yesterday, Howard.
I'm sure I'll come back to you. So there's
Oh
this
my God.
the wrong picture. So here,
Yes.
that's better. You can see it there. So you're on
Yeah.
the beat. I think that was the first time I actually saw you on the television. I was like,
Right.
okay, these guys in
Yeah.
nappies in the swimming pool. I'm up for this band. Yeah. I mean, what do you remember about this? I mean, did they actually ask you specifically to turn up at the baths like that?
Well, so weirdly enough, just last week, my daughter came downstairs, chuckling her head off. And I'm saying to her, what are you laughing at? And she'd found that photograph and showed it me and said, what were you doing? So basically, I think the idea was, I mean, that's Gary Crowley there, and he's in his duds as well. So,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, I
He had
mean,
like black
obviously,
lycra. He had like black lycra ones on. You had kind of like almost like
well,
baby nappies. Yeah.
well, that would have just been my boxer shorts at the time. I think the idea was, I don't really know why they wanted us in our undies, but that where we did the interview was where we actually did the dolphin video. It was Hornsea swimming baths that was kind of
Right.
broken down and disused. So somebody, yes, had the bright idea of saying, why don't you go on a music telly program in your boxer shorts? And we just thought, yeah, why not?
Football. We're struck with footballs. I don't know if you can see that, but you were sat on a
Yes, I'm
football.
sat on a
Oh,
football. Yeah, yeah.
uh-huh.
We did some crazy things back in the day, so I'm kind of pleased that my memory is not that great because I'd be wincing every minute of the day otherwise.
I've got some more crackers for you coming soon. But no,
Oh,
I
brilliant.
was watching that interview just earlier on, and there's one question that kind of I don't think you really knew how to answer it, and you kind of threw it back to Gary, which was he said, "It's kind of do you find a lot of differences between the north and the northern and the southern bands, kind of like this different attitude and swagger?" And you kind of said, "I don't know. What do you think, Gary?" So, but this time, 30 years on. Do you still say something like that? Have you got an answer that you could come up with yourself
Well,
instead of throwing?
I just think every band's just different and does what they feel they want to do. I mean, I don't see a huge north-south divide. Artists are just going to write about what they think or know, aren't they? So obviously, where you're based is going to come out in that. So if you talk about the Blur and the Oasis in the time, yes, Blur were chastised for being Cockney, and Oasis were chastised for being Northern Oik. But you could be anybody in any strand of music and just have your own your own feelings on things. You know, I mean, people perhaps maybe look too deeply into all of these things. We're just used to what we know and what we do, and it works for us. So if that means that we are northern and a bit working class and a bit kind of full on, then so be it. But we don't wake up on a morning and decide to be like that. It's just who we are.
I mean, back then, I imagine you couldn't help kind of second guessing yourself when you're writing your songs because of the likes of Blur and Oasis now. 30 years later, that must be, the writing process must be so much easier because there's not that kind of pressure on you anymore, no?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, we always have had our own way of doing things, and we've never changed over the years at all. I'm just thankful, grateful, happy that we aren't a 1990s Britpop act anymore, just on the nostalgia circuit. We're actually a relevant working band, releasing new songs and doing well out of it, and still have a good core fan base that seem to dine out on whatever we do. So we're in an unusual situation to a lot of other bands from the 90s in that respect, that we are kind of relevant, you know. So we feel that we don't particularly have to join ranks with other bands from our ilk to maybe go out and do these celebratory shows, because we can just do it by ourselves. And we've always had that mentality. And as I say, I'm thankful and grateful, because the music industry is a very fickle place to be.
Yeah.
And it's hot and cold. So, you know, just the fact we're still doing it and coming up with the goods is amazing.
And the fact that you've got Liquid Gold coming out soon, was that something that you already had in the pipeline before you released the #1 album? Or was that something that came off the back of, you're like, right, we've got to hit the road rolling again?
Yeah, so obviously 30th anniversary of Recording Artists is a big number. So yeah, perhaps last year we were thinking of what we could do. We were quite fearful of ex-record labels re-releasing a greatest hits to cash in. We've had 3 or 4 greatest hits over the years, and we were kind of a bit worried about another one coming out without really our say-so, with new packaging to try and flog songs that have been released so many times in the past. So we thought, how can we counteract this? So that was when we got the idea of re-recording, revisiting some of our old songs, sticking a big orchestra on it. So they're almost like brand new songs. We were kind of looking at it as in a way where this is how those songs would sound if we'd written them now for the first time.
Right.
And, you know, we actually literally went into the studio about 2 weeks after getting the #1 to record all of this.
Right.
So we haven't really had any chance to stop and really think about the fact we've had a #1 album. But I think that's amazing, though, because there'll be plenty of time in the future where there'll be down times where we can stop and celebrate that. But I just think if there's any year in our career that means we should be full on and really busy, it's this year, 30th anniversary. So we haven't really had a chance to stop and think about anything, to be honest with you. But what we are coming out with is just pretty amazing. So I can't wait for September for people to actually hear what we've done as a unit. I mean, we've released a couple of things already, so people are getting the idea of what it's going to sound like. But when you hear it all together as a whole, it almost takes you on another journey. So I'm looking forward to people joining our journey. Kind of thoughtful about it because we didn't want to change a song that people know and love so well over the years and make it too different and ruin it. But we also wanted to do something that was different. So I think we were kind of, you know, we're in the studio doing it and we're working out what we should do here. And, you know, I think we've just hit that fine line perfectly where it's not going to offend people who just love the original. And, you know, maybe we'll win people around who'd never heard of us before, who listen to these new versions and have never heard the original and say, wow, this is a great song, and then go back. I mean, for me, that's a great buzz. I remember, for example, discovering REM in about 1988. And I think it was the Green album. And I thought, who's this band? This is amazing. I love this album. And then discovered that they'd had 5 albums previous to that.
Wow.
And then spent months just diving into REM's back catalogue. So if people can do that with us, it's just ace, isn't it? When you discover something new that you didn't know about, it's such a great feeling.
But at the same time, I mean, you said that you dived into REM's back catalogue, but you had to dive into your huge, extensive back catalogue. That must have been a seriously difficult process to decide exactly which songs you thought would work and would best fit this
Yeah,
30th anniversary celebration. I mean,
yeah.
I
So,
was
well,
expecting, for example, just before you explain, there's 2 songs that I was quite surprised weren't on there. Probably from personal experience, but I know that Mark was a very, very important song for you. You wanted it to be your first single
yeah,
because you wanted to leave your mark pretty much literally. And also Dolphin, just because it's kind of like the song that kind of like we mentioned before, it's kind of like the song that hit home and really kind of
yeah.
took you to top of the pops and etc.
Yes, of course, yes.
I was
And
surprised those 2
yes,
didn't make it.
well, we had a small problem there because we only had the budget to do 12 tracks. So that was immediate. We only knew we had to do 12 tracks. And yeah, there's songs like High Hopes that is a big song for us, but it already had an orchestra on it originally. So we were kind of wanting to pick songs that, like, for example, Going for Gold earns its place on there because originally that was just full of brass. There was no strings on it. So we wanted to do a version of a well-known Shed 7 song with strings to totally change the ambience of that particular song. And it works so well. When you hear Going for Gold, it's Going for Gold, but it's widescreen Going for Gold. It's James
Right.
Bond Going for Gold,
I was
and
going to say there's a
Speakeasy.
lot of James Bond kind of
Yeah,
orchestration songs I've heard so
yeah, the
far.
Speakeasy is very much like that. And again, we wanted to choose that one because we just knew adding an orchestra to it would lend it that. But then there's songs like Parallel Lines on there, and we didn't want it to be a straight ahead orchestra on that. We wanted it to sound a little bit Led Zeppelin, Kashmir, go off on a tangent with the strings, and that sounds amazing. So there is a case in point of, yes, Dolphin perhaps should have been on there because you could almost imagine the orchestra dum 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 dum, but then Guinness did that, didn't they? So, so yeah, it's difficult. Where do you draw the line? Whenever we write a set list for a gig, it's like, what do you not play? We've got too many big songs, but not enough time. So we're never going to appease everybody. And we
Sure.
just have to feel like it's our stuff. So we're just going to have to do what we do. So, yeah, I mean, Mark, you're right. Mark could have worked out really well. But as I say, it's where do you draw the line?
Yeah.
There is a song on there called Waiting for the Catch that was kind of really quickly written when we were doing the Instant Pleasures album sessions. And we just didn't have enough time to do its justice. So we just knocked off a really quick, almost demo version of that song and realised it wasn't good enough to be put on the Instant Pleasures album. So we put it on this bonus disc, and loads of fans were saying, why isn't this on the normal album? And we could hear that it didn't fit on the normal album, which is why it was almost tossed off as a demo on the bonus CD. So we thought that deserved its moment in the sun. So that was the reason why we've chose that song. And again, for a lot of people, it's a brand new song. It's only the real hardcore who bought this bonus edition that even know that song. So that sounds absolutely amazing. That sounds almost like Shed 7 Go Arena. So very excited for people to hear that as well.
And then you've got a brand new song that you've recorded for the album as well, no?
Yes, so that came out of the Matter of Time sessions, and again, no time to finish it. So we kind of did the pre-production on that track in Spain with all the other songs. But again, the time ran out. So we thought we'd revisit that as well. So yeah, so there is essentially 2 brand new songs on this album, which is a great way to help promote it.
Sure it is, yeah. Talking of promotion, your promotion is just out of this world, and I can't believe that you do it all yourself. You haven't yourself managed. I mean, you did it with your last album, got to #1. So I
Yeah.
mean, what kind of things have you got up your sleeves this time, apart from the stuff that we've seen already? I mean, I
Well,
think I wrote to you on Twitter a few months ago saying that I really missed the retro Shed 7 ringer tees. I had the red, the blue, and the green and yellow one.
Right. Yeah.
They
Yeah.
got all destroyed from washing them so many times. So I was like, fingers crossed they'll
Yeah.
release those again.
Well, they potentially might make a comeback on the merch store when we do this tour, because yeah, it's a nod back to the '94. Um, there is a lot of things still planned. I mean, yes, we do now self-manage, and we have our fingers all over every single pie. So it's not just as simple as writing, recording, performing. We're now working out how much a van's going to cost to get the equipment to a TV studio. We're working out how many crew we might need for certain things that are coming up. We're having to sort out where we're going to be staying on tour, if we stay on the tour bus or do we book hotels. So we're doing everything, and it is massively time consuming and very hard work and constant. But the positive side to that is when you've finished that particular side of it for a while, you're not giving away 20% to somebody else for doing it for you. B, you're not chasing up these people who should be doing it for you and perhaps aren't doing it as well as they should. So it just takes all the hassle away. Even though it is hard work, it takes all the hassle away. So everything, the artwork, every single element of what you see of Shed 7 is done in-house by us as a band, yeah.
Talking of the artwork, I love the artwork for this new album. I mean, I remember buying those an exact replica of those sunglasses. I just loved them, the way you wore them on the was it game, but was it the Getting Better
Yes, it was
single,
getting
right?
better, yeah.
I
Yes, it
think I
was.
bought a pair of sunglasses, but exactly the same in Top Man, I think. Had the exact same glasses in color. So I love the artwork.
Yeah, so again, I feel again all of a sudden that my face is everywhere, which is pretty
Yeah.
amazing so many years later. But yes, it's brilliant. So Pure Evil is the company that did that, and Paul Banks is a huge fan of Pure Evil. He's got a lot of this company's artwork all over his walls at
Right.
home. So he reached out to them and kind of said, "Do you want to be part of this?" And he said, "I'd love to." So Paul Banks is in heaven because it's his favourite art company who've done a big canvas for our new campaign. But it is quite striking, and it's led on to us to think of other ways to help promote it. So we have released various versions in various different colours,
Yeah.
which we're kind of thinking people will hopefully pick up on, because the colours donate classic albums from the past. So the green version is a nod to The Queen is Dead by the Smiths. The main brown copper version is a nod to Neil Young's Harvest Moon. The blue version's a nod to the Beatles. What Beatles album is it? I can't remember what it's called now. A Hard Day's Night. So
Right.
they've all got kind of different meanings, which means we're going to go into the studio at the end of this week and record a set of cover versions by some of these classic album bands
All
and
right.
release it as another variant. So we're always on. We're always thinking.
Brilliant.
So if people want to hear us doing a version of Cemetery Gates by the Smiths, then there will be an opportunity to get that as a variant of this new album. So yes, all really cool, all good.
Uh-huh. I'm talking your face all over the place. I want to talk a little bit about this Speakeasy video. That's brought a little tear to my eye because it just made me realize just how much time really has gone by. When I saw the two of you together there, it was like, so I mean, what did that, how did you feel when you saw the two of you there singing the same song together 30 years
Yeah,
on?
it was weird. So obviously it was sent to me first, so I could okay it, and yeah, at the point halfway through where it's split screens and there's me and me, older me, not old me, older me and young me, it was slightly weird because I don't think a lot of people get the opportunity to see themselves in real time moving
Yeah.
30 years apart. It's a bit of a weird kind of feeling, but also great because I don't look too shabby for a 51-year-old man, so
No,
I get away
you're
with
all right. Yeah.
it. So that all came about because when we did the original Speakeasy video in '94, I think there was about 10 or 15 minutes left at the end of the day before we had to stop shooting filming for noise levels. And the director said to me, "Look, I've got this light that I'll put behind the camera, which will shine into your eyes. So can you just sing the whole song to camera, and we'll see if we can edit it into the video." And it never worked. It never got edited in. So for
Right.
30 years, we've had a version of Speakeasy with me just singing to camera, just on a shelf collecting dust. So we just thought, well, why don't we use that? And then you go in and recreate where you look now. So yeah, that lots of people were actually saying online when it came out that it brought them to tears, which is quite bizarre to
It's
get
like
told.
it's like a bittersweet tears because it's like it's great because you're still around 30 years later, like you said, you're still part of the music industry, music scene, but at the same time, it's like where the hell have these 30 years
And
gone? You know,
no,
so it's
well,
very
I
bittersweet.
think
Yeah,
that's what touches people, doesn't it? Really, the fact that we've all led that life, we've all lived through that 30 years. What I'm looking forward to is doing it again in another 30 years when I'm 81, and including that with my 51 and my 21-year selves.
yeah, that sounds good. You could have the Rolling Stones to support you as well on that one.
Yeah.
It's getting better all the time. I got my wings and I can fly. I will fly to you. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I didn't speak to you about this last time. Rick Witter and the Dukes.
Mm.
Can you tell me a
So
little bit
that's
about that? Is that something? I mean, obviously, because you're getting all nostalgic. Did you ever think about Rick Witter and the Dukes and the songs that you wrote there, and kind of the time you spent with that band while you were, and not that you were going to put it into a Shed 7 album, obviously, but was that something that came into mind while you were preparing this new album?
no, not really. The Dukes were so when the Sheds decided to call it a day in 2003. My immediate first thought was, what do I do now? I've not really made any money out of it. I'm paying a mortgage. I can't get a proper job because I get recognised wherever I go. So that would
Yeah.
be soul destroying, putting beans on a shelf in a supermarket. You know, it wouldn't work.
I just think you're filming a new music video, no?
Well, maybe, yeah, maybe. So the obvious solution for me was to form a new band, and it
Sure.
was. I loved it, and it was great, but it was also quite hard because I did feel quite bad for the guys on several occasions because whenever we went and did a gig anywhere, everyone would just be shouting for Shed 7 songs. So even though we'd written an album of songs, they're kind of being glazed over because everyone just wants to hear me singing Where Have You Been Tonight or Going for Gold. And that was happening at every gig, in between every song. Sing Chasing Rainbows. So for a while, we didn't want to do that. And we were just playing the Dukes album, which was pretty cool. It was recorded quite lo-fi, and it was, you know, it was more of an energy thing rather than a greatly produced bit of work. Mm-hmm. But it got to the point where we did start to have to introduce some Shed 7 songs because it was keeping the fans happy.
Sure.
Yeah, and it was difficult. It was a difficult time, really. So when we decided in 2000, the very beginning of 2007, to reform the Sheds to go on a big tour, that was shelved. You know, I mean,
yeah,
it was never going to work doing both things. And then obviously with the Shed 7 thing being so well received, it was never even really discussed that we'd stopped. I don't think the Dukes have split up. I think we're still going.
Yeah.
We just haven't done anything.
Kind of fizzled out. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
so
then along the same lines, obviously you got your Truth Be Told in 2001 as well, which I thought was a great album. You really had some good songs on there. Was this ever up for possible songs on the new album at all?
No, again, I mean, we all probably view that period as not the greatest of times for Shed 7. I mean, we'd been dropped from Polydor, so we weren't on a major label anymore. We'd been signed up by an indie label, but the indie label were putting so much pressure on us. You know, you're the band that writes top 10 hits, so we want you to write top 10 hits for us. But at the same time, their budgets weren't anything like what Polydor's were. So there was no money thrown at us to help promote what we were doing. So it was a pretty rubbish time, really, to be honest. You know, it got to the point where I'd find myself in a rehearsal room and we were trying to write a set of new songs, and I'd be kind of writing a verse. And I'd be thinking, is that verse catchy enough, before even thinking about the chorus? And when you get to the point where you're trying to create some type of art and you're questioning yourself before you've even finished it, it's like, it's time to stop for a bit, which is kind of why we did stop in 2003. Yeah. And you know what? I'm so pleased we did, because a lot of bands just tried to carry on through all of their lean times. And I think sometimes just stopping really helps, because you're not kind of, leaving any kind of rubbish behind you. You know what I mean? We've got a back catalogue that we've got a really strong back catalogue of songs, and we don't want to ruin that legacy. So there's no way we'd write a new set of songs now without making sure they're as good as they possibly can be.
Yeah, I guess it's a bit like kind of TV series, TV shows. If they go on for too long, they just start kind of getting boring. Yeah, but if you finish it after like The Office or whatever, they finished after three series.
Yeah, totally.
And then if it did come back now, it'd probably be fun.
Well, that's why now we kind of feel like we're on fire again now. So the idea is we're going to finish this really busy year and round the year off in style with this huge tour. And then we're going to go a little bit quiet because it's been Shed 7 Central. I'm sure I'm starting to get bored of me. So I'm sure there's people all over the country that are getting really bored of me. So we'll do this. We'll do what we've planned for the rest of the year. And then probably just do a run of festivals next summer, which is pressure off us in that respect. You know, we'll just go and turn up at a festival and do a set. And then in the downtime throughout the year, we'll start thinking about writing some new stuff with the idea, hopefully, to release a new album in 2026. So as long as we can come up with the goods, that's the plan.
Brilliant. Yeah. So just to finish off then, can you tell us a little bit about what we can expect from the live concerts we're going to see this year? Because obviously it's so orchestrated this time around, so it's going to be a lot bigger on stage. I mean, the last few gigs you've played, you had a whole lot of people on stage at the same time.
Yeah,
so etc. So that was fantastic. But this will be just as huge, you know?
Well, hopefully so. We're hoping to get a few guests coming and going as and when they can. We'll think about the stage set. Obviously, it's a 30-year kind of tour, so we'll be throwing in some stuff. I mean, you know, just sometimes it's difficult because you can't start going down the route of playing extra tracks off 12-inch singles from 1995 so much because you're catering to a very niche crowd there, and then people start going off for a wee or getting a beer. And we have a lot of hits, so it's, you know, we've only got a certain amount of time we can play, so we'll cherry pick some of the really big songs from the 90s. We'll make sure that we bring out that child that we've locked in the wardrobe and make sure that that child gets a little bit of attention. But then we've got this liquid gold with all of the strings on, so we'll use some backing tracks and play some versions of old tracks, which kind of works and helps us in that respect because we can perhaps do Going for Gold, liquid gold version, and then that gets we play the Going for Gold, but we play it how it is now, you know. So we're still in talks about that because it's not till November that we go off and do that. But we have a very busy summer before that even occurs. So that's not the first thing on my mind right now this minute. But yes, it'll be great.
Because you're playing a few gigs where you're going to be playing your debut album track by track now. Is that going to be track by track exactly as it was recorded, or is there going to be a few surprises in the way that you play those tracks?
No, we'll just do the album in full, start to finish. Then we'll go off and have a 10-minute rest, and then we'll come back out and play some of the more modern hits. But yeah, why don't we just throw that into the mix? It's not like we're busy. Let's go and relearn the whole of Change Giver just for the hell of it, yeah.
And then on Saturdays you can go and work in a supermarket as well. You got plenty of times.
But the thing is, we're doing all of this because yes, it's 30 years since that album came out, but we want to try our hardest to give something back to all of these loyal fans who are spending all this money on coming to see us play gigs and buying these new albums. It's our way of saying thank you. So, you know, if people can come out and just have a great night out and have a bit of a sore head the next day, then it's all brilliant.
Brilliant. Talking of sore head, just to finish off, I mean, even though you're so busy, you've even got time to create your own beers. So you've got two beers to celebrate the 30th anniversary as well. I think
we have.
I can't remember what was one called now. You're working with Brew York. It was called Homecoming, no, the first one.
So we did that for the two Museum Gardens gigs, but we have another beer coming out for the tour, so it'll be a different type of hop, I think. And we've also possibly got some liquid gold gin on the way for this tour
gin
too.
As well. Have you thought of a name? Have you thought of a name for these at all or not? So I was giving a little think earlier this afternoon. I thought Bitter Days would be quite a good one.
Nice, yes.
Stout by My Side is another
nice, I like it. Yes. Well, I think if we do the gin, we will just call it liquid gold, but it might have gold flecks in there.
Right.
The beer, I was toying with the idea of asking if we could do a nice spiced rum and we could call it Rum in My House.
Right.
But there's only so many spirits, and there's only so much time in the world. So I don't know. I think maybe if we're doing the beer, that will be for the gentlemen, and we can do some nice ladies' gin. Not to be sexist in any way, but there you go. I do know gentlemen like gin too.
Of course they do. Yeah, yeah. My dad loves it. But listen, I'm going to let you go because I don't want to keep you, Rick. It's always a pleasure to speak to you, man. I wish you the best of luck with the album. I know it's going to go be great because the first three singles are fantastic.
Thank you, Howard. Thank you very much.
Congratulations on 30 years of staying in the business, and here's to another 30.
Well, there you go. Let's catch up in 30 years' time, yeah?
I hope so, or sooner.